All right, welcome, ND Nation. You're under the Golden Dome with Wes Pritchett and Frank Stams, two members of the last championship team at the University of Notre Dame, 1988. And we're here. This is the inaugural, our podcast for the 2024 season of the University of Notre Dame. And Wes, I'd like to talk about in this podcast three things, really, to set it up, and then we'll get into, personnel next week. Hopefully we can get Timmy Brown as our guest, and kind of preview not only, the wide receivers that, Notre Dame gained in the transfer portal, but also set up that A&M game, which is now, a couple of weeks away. And who better to talk about A&M than Timmy Brown? But let's first talk about really the engine that makes it all go, the leadership. I'm talking about Marcus Freeman. He's going into his third year now, and as you know, to me, and maybe to you, the third year is when you want to see it. In Holtz's third year, we win the national championship, go undefeated, with a schedule that was absolutely freaking ridiculous that year. That's that year. And you don't realize it at the moment, but that year we beat the number 2, number 4, number 5, and number 7 team as they finished the rankings that season. So that strength of schedule was just ridiculous. So talk about Freeman, talk about strength of schedule, and then we'll talk about Riley Leonard, the transfer quarterback from Duke. So your thoughts on Marcus Freeman, and then I'll give you my thoughts as well.
Thanks, Frank. I can't say that I know Marcus really well. I've clearly heard him speak a few times. He was, I think. And I've met him a few times, and I've seen him interact with recruits. And I think the thing that I take from being around the guy is just that he has a very calm demeanor. He has a lot of confidence. He's played. He's been there. Seems to be a little bit of a player's coach. I think he had some growing pains the first couple of years, but I mean that's a big spot to be in, to be the head coach at Notre Dame at such a young age. I think the thing that I like, there's a couple of things I liked really a lot about Marcus. The first thing he did when he got there was realize that the tradition of Notre Dame is one of the most important things at the school. And the first thing he did was try to get the alumni football players involved with the current program. He did that with the calls where it was like the State of the Union sort of Notre Dame football. He got the players involved. He invited all of us back for his first spring game. And I'll never forget he brought all the players in. We had a cocktail hour. And he said, okay, we're going to break all the players down by what they want to do, by their majors and what industry they want to be in when they graduate from Notre Dame. And they broke us up into all these little think tank groups. He was like, this is your NIL. These are the guys you need to know. This is your example. These are the guys that are going to help you, teach you how to be successful in life. And I thought that was incredible. Now, as far as coaching, you're right. It's his third year. I think, they have a very easy schedule this year, or the easier schedule than they've had in years gone by. They're going to have a senior quarterback. They're going to have to stay healthy. They've done very well recruiting. So there's really not a lot of excuses for him not to do well this year. I mean, I think anything worse than a 10-2 season would be very disappointing.
All right, all great thoughts. And now I'm going to play bad cop. And as we go through the season under the Golden Dome, I want our listeners to appreciate the perspective that we're going to give them and the standard that which we're used to. My biggest, and I'm going to draw the big picture first of all, is what I'm amazed at is football at all levels. It seems to be everything we get is the cream, the niceties. How beautiful everything is, how people get along, what great, idealists. What everybody's doing is the greatest thing since sliced bread. That was the farthest thing from reality, right? I know, I see you're chuckling, right? The farthest thing from reality that we had at Notre Dame. Now, I appreciate, and let me play the bad cop, because that makes for a good podcast. The yin and the yang, the conflict is, when Holtz got there, he was conscious of Notre Dame. That was his job. That's what he wanted all along. He talks about it now all the time, growing up there in East Liverpool and Fallensby, West Virginia, a strong, I forget the name of the little Catholic school that he went to, but Notre Dame was in his soul. But when he got there, it was all about Lou Holtz. And it was all about Lou Holtz's culture. And I don't say that in a bad way. I say that's how it had to be. He was the leader of the ship, and you either got on board or the train was leaving you behind. And I was a perfect example. I experienced both. So, when I hear you talk about Marcus Freeman, it's nice that he's engaging and doing things off the season, but I need to see a little bit more kind of a little nastiness from him. You talk about, I've met him a couple of times. He seems kind of, and I'll be honest with you, seems a little aloof when I meet him. Now, he's probably just being cautious because he doesn't know me. And I appreciate that. But I'd like to see him a little bit more engaging. So, and then, the jury's still out on him, I mean, after last year's season, what happened in Ohio State, he's got the pedigree, went to Ohio State, played on four teams there that were, two of them played in the national championship game, played linebacker. I think he's got the toughness, he's got the know-how. He's served under, from Ohio State. He becomes a grad assistant there. Then I think his first job is at Kent State with the linebackers. Then he goes to Purdue with the linebackers, then becomes co-defensive coordinator. And then from Purdue, he goes to Cincinnati. I think where now he's coaching with Brian Kelly, and they have big success there. But and then he comes to Notre Dame with Brian Kelly. But you know this, being the head coach is far different than being what the head coach is wanting you to coach and how you want to be. Now you're the guy everybody looks to. And I think there's a tremendous amount of growing pains that he's experienced in the last couple of years at Notre Dame, and specifically some decision making during the game. And I don't know, how fast you get that or if you ever get that. Just want to know your thoughts on that.
Well, you make some really good points. I mean, we both came in the same year with Jerry Faust, and we had a lot of talent on our teams. And Jerry did not know how to coach at that level. He didn't have a program and a platform to sort of plug in. He hadn't been through the motion before on the Division I college level. I think the thing that was amazing about Lou, and you're absolutely right, it was all about Lou, and it was all from day one. He had a program and a platform and a process that he knew he was going to plug in, and he knew what it took because he had done it before. He had the experience of turning a program around, and he realized the number one thing was the mindset. And you remember the first meeting we ever had when he kicked Chuck Lanza's feet off the stage, and he said, "When I'm talking, you sit up in your chair and you look me straight in the eye. It's my way or the highway. I'm not a patient man." He went through his whole spiel.
Right.
What are our priorities?
Chuck was a captain.
Chuck was a captain. Went through our priorities. He gave us a playbook for life. What were the trust, love, and commitment? First we'll be best, then we'll be first. I mean, it was a total change of everything that we had learned or hadn't learned, right? And we had to learn and buy into that process. And you remember the first year we lost
Oh yeah, it was, man, the first couple of
Or
years,
by like
right.
30 points or something crazy like that. We were there, we just didn't know how to win. And then the second year, we made it a little further. We won a couple of those games. Then we got blown out by A&M in the Cotton Bowl. And I'll never forget, that was like the low point that I had almost in my career. And then I remember thinking, I'm never going to feel like this again. And then, of course, we all gel together and go 12-0 and run the gauntlet of the teams that you mentioned that finished, I think, 4 teams in the top 10 or something that we beat that year. We had 2 true freshman offensive linemen starting. So those guys they hadn't all been in that environment together ever. You got new quarterback, you got new transfer wide receivers. So I think the way that they didn't lose their composure, I think they played very poised. Yes, they didn't play a perfect game, but I thought, like you said, the team seemed to get better as the game went on. And I think the last 5, 6, 8 minutes of that game, Notre Dame was a superior team. The quarterback didn't play great in the first half, but he was getting pressured a lot. And it was a big environment. But here's what he did do, Frank. He managed the game. He didn't make mistakes, and he kept us in the game. He didn't have silly mistakes. I think he made, for the most part, pretty good decisions. Maybe he didn't execute his passes at certain times, but I think the defense is pretty good. I think the secondary is legit. I think our quarterbacks are really good. The safeties seem to really come up and hit people, and I was really impressed with the linebackers. I watched some highlights of some of the plays. Drake Bowen, the new, the young star kid that got to play a lot. They were blowing up those counters. The linebackers were playing downhill. I mean, it made me excited. I love seeing linebackers, kill people. So that was exciting to see. I think the D line played reasonably well. And here's the bottom line: if the defense plays great, if you have a great defense, you have a chance. I mean, Lou used to always say, defense wins championships. I mean, it's the truth. So I would say, first game, you get a victory. All the games are tough environment. I give them a B+, I think, overall as a team. I think there's things they can work on, certainly get better. I saw some things in the offensive line. I mentioned it to you earlier when it was when they were driving down the field at the end of the game. They showed the close-up of the offensive linemen, and they were looking at each other and smiling, and like they knew they were winning. And the next play, we rattled off a 29-yard run and scored the winning touchdown. So those kinds of things are exciting. I think that'll give them confidence going into that environment and winning a game like that. But like you said, you can't have the second game letdown. You can't have a letdown after the big game. We had the Marshall game a couple of years ago that Notre Dame had the letdown. We can't have that against Northern Illinois. So it'll be interesting to see if Marcus can keep their level of intensity high and get them ready for the next game. I mean, I think that's what Lou did very well. He always broke us down on Sunday, told us how bad we were, told us how great our opponent was the following week, how hard we had to work to prepare to beat them on Saturday. And, then slowly by Wednesday or Thursday, we were getting a little better. Then we had the best game plan. We had the best players. We were going to be superior, and, all the positive mental image. So,
Yeah. So, and listening to you talk, yeah. So, what I'm trying to draw out is, the similarities between Marcus and Lou Holtz, and the differences. What his style is, the lessons he's teaching his players. Maybe point out his shortcomings, and point out things that he's doing better than Lou Holtz. You mentioned, giving confidence to his players. We're ready for this. We prepared for this. We know what they're going to do. That's wonderful. Players need to eliminate doubt. Doubt is just a killer. You got to play with extreme confidence out there. And that's what Marcus is trying to accomplish. And, and Holtz was masterful at tearing you down early in the week. And then I'll never forget, I think our last practice before the game, he would say, I deem you ready for this game. And, and that was something after hearing a week of, telling you that you did everything wrong under the sun, to say, hey, you're ready. you're ready now to play. And it doesn't sound like it means much, but it did. As far as Saban's comments, tough place to play. I think they were playing against a little tougher quarterback
Yeah,
at that time. And that quarterback from A&M, God bless him. I bet he's a great quarterback, but he was just that stage was a little bit too big for him. And the coach Elko, he commented on that at halftime. He said, "We got to get our quarterback to settle down and make plays." The quarterback did not play well. Now that could have been in large part to what Notre Dame was doing defensively, or he was just not up for the moment. But I'm sure he's a good quarterback. Our quarterback did settle down a little bit, and like you said, he didn't lose the game, which is really important. You don't have to be, All-American every game, but you just can't lose the game. I don't think, I don't know if they had a turnover. If they did,
I don't. I know we had an interception on defense. I don't think he threw an interception.
Right, which is huge.
So that's big.
Yeah, and I want to say A&M had a couple of turnovers, and Marcus commented on this at halftime. He said, listen, and off of both of those turnovers, if I remember correctly, they got very little points, if any at all. And he made the comment as like, we need to be more opportunistic. When we get those turnovers at midfield and get that short field, we got to take advantage of it and bury that. They did not do that in the first half, and that's something that they need to do. But yeah, the team got better, it got stronger as it went on. And gives you it's a great momentum builder there, that first game on the road like that. But what do we all know? It's the 48-hour rule, right? Enjoy it. And now you're back to Northern Illinois, and I think Notre Dame's almost a 30-point favorite against Northern. I know a little bit about Northern Illinois, being, having covered some of the Mid-American Conference games. I'll tell you that they're a tough group. They had a stretch at one time of owning that Mid-American Conference, going to the championship game every year. So it's a physical group with good tradition, and they know how to play hard. Whether or not they've got the athletes to compete against Notre Dame, we'll find out Saturday. But like you said, Marcus has now got to manage that team to guard against any letdown going forward.
Yeah, I agree. Everything you said is spot on. I mean, look, those MAC teams, that those are all 3-star kids that love football, that play hard, that want to be coachable. They're going to play fundamentally sound, but Notre Dame, you got to think Notre Dame's got better athletes. If they go out there and just don't lay an egg, they should be all right. But look, football, like you said, you lose on potential. I mean, you've got to be dialed in mentally to play football at a high level. I don't care how talented you are. If you're not dialed into the game plan, into your what you have to do every play, your responsibility, then you're not going to do well.
Thoughts?
Well, my thoughts were, again, back to what Stoney said. I mean, I watched it, and one of the guys, again, it wasn't a whole lot they could do because they fell into the side of the knee and got rolled up. But one guy, again, he was there too erect. And again, you have to be moving forward as an offensive lineman. You should never be just standing up in a pile, looking around. You need to be finding somebody to hit and stay in a good football position, pad level, because when someone rolls up in the back of you, you just drop to your knees, and you're not going to, the injury won't be as severe as to someone when you're more erect and they roll you up and they, that knee gets turned the wrong way. I will say, again, it was tough to see both of those, in particular with Ashton, the center Craig. He was one. I don't think it was a whole lot that he could have done, because he was in a good position, was blocking, and it just kind of got chopped. Guy fell into his knee by someone blocking him. But I am concerned, because that's an area of concern, because we've lost some guys prior to this. So next man up. I'm just hoping the next man up is going to be someone that can be counted on to step up and do things at a high level.
Well, I know that was a stupid question, me asking why the injuries, but I thought, maybe there was an outside chance that, Reggie, did you guys ever sabotage anybody that was playing in front of you, put something in their
No,
food?
I
Well,
hate it when guys used to run into the back of linemen. I'm like, open your damn eyes and see where you're going. If you're running into the back of your, and they do that. I mean, that happens. But if I ran into the back of my lineman, I'm like, come over here and kick me in my ass because I'm not doing my job. You know,
yeah,
I had
right.
a different look. Our offensive line was so damn good. I was always 2 yards downfield before I even saw a defender.
No.
Because
Wes, I know you sabotage people that played in front of you. How did you do
Well,
it?
they thought I was sabotaging because I was so slow, but I actually wasn't.
What,
The funny thing is, Frank,
what,
to be honest with you, we talked a lot of smack. I think we had a lot of swagger when we went out there, but I never, look, I was trying to kill everybody I hit, but I was never intentionally trying to hurt anybody. No, I don't think that.
no,
I wasn't. And I want to go back to some of the things that we were talking about before, like, why did we lose the NIU game? And we talked about this a little bit, Frank. Coach Holtz, and Stoney mentioned this, Coach Holtz would break us down after every game, no matter how well we played. Tell us we were the worst team in the world. Tell us how great the opponent was. Get us prepared, that we were going to have to practice harder than everybody else. And then we would practice harder. We would practice. We were held at a higher, and we talked about this. Notre Dame has to raise the bar. Their floor has to be higher and higher. What they expect of all these guys on Tuesdays and Wednesdays or however they're practicing, they got to practice harder. They got to be more prepared mentally because you can't go out there and just be flat and lose to a team like NIU if you got enough talent to beat A&M on the road and to beat Purdue in their worst loss in 130 years. I mean, our offensive line dominated, our defensive line dominated. There's no way. I can't. You think NIU's got more talent than Purdue?
No,
I
no,
don't think
no.
so.
No. Listen, I'm with you 110%. We've talked about that. Irish Nation, you're under the Golden Dome with Wes Pritchett, Frank Stams, Michael Stonebreaker, Reggie Brooks, talking Notre Dame football, past and present. It's early in the season. Just finished an ass kicking at Purdue. Again, worst loss ever in Ross-Ade Stadium for the Boilermakers. But no, you're right. I mean, we've talked about that consistently about Lou, but about having that's what I said. Marcus has got their attention. Well, Lou always had our attention. But another thing going forward, another thing that Lou would do. Now you've shown you can do it. You're putting 66 up on the board. Running game is, probably near or at where you want it. I don't know. I'm not in the meeting rooms, but so the question now is, what do you do now? And he would always say, what are you going to do now? And what are you going to do now? What do you do now, Mike? What do you do now?
Come out and you evaluate this. All right, your first couple games, you already lost the game. Right? What can you do? You can't do a damn thing about it. You go out like you should have done from week one, and you take it 1 week at a time, one play at a time, and you play as hard as you possibly can on each individual play. And you make tackles, you make runs, you make stops, you make scores, you make blocks, you make the right read coming out of the backfield. You do everything you're supposed to do as a football player, and you continue to try to excel and sacrifice for all of your teammates and all the fans that are out there coming to watch you play.
Reggie, you just said, I want to ask you guys the same question. Well, Reggie, what do you do now? And you just sent me this cool little thing on how we win from I guess your days are
yesteryear.
Yeah.
But there it is. I mean, you have to be more physical, and I know it, in this day and age, that's always tough, but you can't play this game without practicing physically.
Physical.
You just can't. I mean, it's just not going to work because you're not going to be consistent in it. You have to practice physical. And again, there's opportunity for injury, but it's your body has to get conditioned to take those hits and deliver those hits. And, those soft tissue muscles and that soft tissue, you have to harden it up, and you can only do that.
And the speed of the game when you're playing full speed. The speed of the game when you're playing full speed. You have to be used to reacting at that speed level too.
So I don't want to interrupt you, Reggie, but you're hitting on what I was kind of alluding to when I asked that the dumb question, why the injuries? We all know why injuries. You can't help injuries. They're part of the game. But in a way, I want to say, and coaches will probably say you're crazy, but in a sense, I think they upped their game. I think practice was hard. They upped their game. You can never simulate the pace or toughness of a live game. And I think now they're upping their game. They're playing at a different level. We saw that at Purdue. And, in a weird way to me, and I know, people say, no, it's not true. But in a weird way, when you start doing something that you're not used to doing, and Wes, you were just talking about it, Reggie, you were talking about it, you're making yourself a little vulnerable when you're practicing or playing like you have never practiced or played before. And in a sense, I mean, you got to take the good with the bad. It's they lose I think it was Craig for the whole season. How do you pronounce his name, Reggie? Botello?
Jordan Botello.
Jordan Botello.
Yeah, they lose him for the year because of a knee.
Yeah, that's the center and the right guard, by the way.
No, it's the Botello's the edge rusher.
Yeah, but you also.
Oh no, you're right. I'm sorry. Billy Shrouth is the right guard. The right guard is going to miss a few games. Craig is the center. You're right. Jordan Botello is a defensive end.
Anyways, Reggie, do they have the team probably better than anybody being close to the university with Holtz's heroes? Do they have the depth at the offensive line to, like Mike says, the next man up?
Yeah, they definitely do. But the thing about it, coming into this game, you were down Tosh Baker and you were down Charles Jigashaw, which those are two tackles. But I think again, Pat Coogan is someone that can step in. They have some Pendleton, so they have some pieces they can kind of reintegrate that was a little more that played last year. So you'll have a little more. You have the depth and you have the talent from the depth standpoint. This is one of our stronger units. But again, we can't continue to lose guys at this rate. I mean, to lose two offensive linemen, and I'm glad Billy's coming back because that's a huge, him in a couple of weeks because we're going to need him. Because I'm hoping that they see that with this offensive line, it's easy, and the young guys, it's easier to run block than it is to pass block. Young guys are better when they're delivering a blow versus receiving a blow. So, like I said, we've all said, running downhill is going to be that's how this team is going to win, because not just the running backs running downhill, but getting Leonard Riley running downhill, or Riley Leonard running downhill is going to be key too, because that's part of his game. When he's running, he gets into a rhythm and gets into a flow a lot quicker, and I think that's going to help the passing game.
All right. Well, okay. So Miami coming up. Mike, Wes, what do you expect from Miami?
I mean, listen.
What do you expect? Not from Miami, but what do you expect from us? We're
here's the
27-point favorite. We were a 28-point favorite against.
There's a lot of similarities in this game than there were in the Northern Illinois game. We're 4 touchdown favorites. It's a MAC team. Listen, the MAC kids are all kids that are coached well. They're all 3-star guys that are going to, that love the game, that don't want to give it up, that play their hearts out, that are going to play at the top of their capabilities. Miami of Ohio is going to play at their best against Notre Dame. Now, can Marcus Freeman use whatever formula that he used for the Purdue game and plug it into the mentality of the players to step up and play and be ready in the first quarter against Miami of Ohio? I mean, I'm hopeful that they've learned their lesson and that he's figuring out a process to figure out how to break the guys down and build them back up over the week. But you know how it is. I mean, you got to go out there on Saturday. You got to be ready mentally on Saturday. And that, I think we took for granted a lot of the times that we were ready to play on Saturday and didn't realize how much of that Lou had. But I think some of that you just got to have it as a player too, right? I mean, if I'm walking out of that stadium and I know that I'm playing football, I'm going to kick somebody's ass. I mean, I hope everybody else, I didn't have to worry about the guys around me in 1988. But I mean, think about some of think about the talent that we had when we first got to Notre Dame, Frank, and Jerry Faust was a coach, and some of the games that we lost that we knew we were a lot better. Jerry didn't get us right mentally. So I hope I think the Irish are going to blow them out. I think they're going to do exactly what you said. I think they're going to enforce their will. I think they're going to run the ball. I think they're going to control, the line of scrimmage.
I couldn't agree with you more. Coaching is not about X's and O's. Shit, there's a million guys that can draw on diagram plays and X and O's and on the board. It's all about leadership. It's
leadership. Head coach is all about leadership.
Yeah, it's all about leadership and getting your guys ready to play, preparing them for the season, and game time decisions. Making the right decisions. Just like teams, there's 6 or 7 plays. Usually in a close game that determine the outcome. There's 6 or 7 decisions that I'm sure coaches that have to make during the game that also determine that outcome. We see that every year. We see that every game. So, Mike, what's your overall look going? With Notre Dame going forward. People talked about the schedule not being, as tough as it has in the past. I mean, what do you think about their chances of making the playoffs? And, how's this team progressing? Are they the 66 team, 66-point team against Purdue, or are they the 14-point team against NIU, or somewhere in the middle?
Well, after the Texas A&M game, I heard people commenting and read a couple articles about that's it, Notre Dame going to the playoffs. They were already penciling them in for the playoffs, and I guess that's because of how weak that their schedule was supposed to be this year. You look at that loss. Okay, well, if you did have that weak of a schedule, how was winning out for the season to begin with? And so, I don't see how them winning out puts them into a playoff picture because of the weak.
Yeah, you broke up on us a little bit, freezing a little bit, I think, but I think the point was made that you said, you don't see how they're going to make the playoffs by winning out. I don't know. I think SC's got a pretty good team. If they continue to win strong like they are and finish kicking SC's ass at the end of the year, I think, with Notre Dame's appeal, I think they will slip into, a playoff spot. What say you, Reggie?
I think again.
I mean, you can.
Go ahead, Reg.
I'll say this. My expectations for next week is, again, kind of rinse and repeat. We've got to lean into this running game, getting guys after, and that defense. But to your point, it's the mentality. It's the mindset. Physically, you have a stronger team. You're more talented. You're more capable. It's just a matter of, are you going to you're going to do the little things the right way and get out there and play every down, every opportunity, take advantage of it. Are you going to do that? And that's on the players. I mean, yeah, I agree. Like I said, Marcus has to figure out what he needs to do. Because this is a different generation than us. I mean, how many times did Coach Holtz threaten to take our scholarship if we wasn't practicing the right way? And we were dumb enough to believe him, like, well, because most of us, like, hey, if I don't got a scholarship, I can't go to school.
Right.
So it's a different dynamic. Now you got these guys that are, making three,
Yeah.
4, $500 million. They're like, you can't bench me. You can't take my scholarship. And and again, so he has to find a different way to to encourage and get these guys to play week in and week out, because it doesn't matter who you play. And again, I agree with Wes. Yeah, it's Miami, Ohio. And again, no disrespect. Maybe I'm disrespecting a little bit, but if they don't go out and dominate this team, they're in a cycle. They're in a bad cycle of up one game, down the next game, up another game, down the next game. You cannot have that. You got to be consistent in your play from week to week. And I haven't seen it. So which team is going to show up on Saturday will tell you a lot about the direction of where this team is going to go.
But last night, the vibe was good. I went to the Chivarelli Center. That's that's right next to the Notre Dame locker room in the stadium, and a lot of guys were there. I was talking to Dave Casper, the Ghost.
Really?
Yeah, Bob Crable.
Wow.
Dave, our friend Dave Butler, was there. All former Notre Dame players. Terry Anderzak was there.
Nice.
Reggie Brooks. A lot of guys that we played with before and after us. So the vibe is exciting. It's electric. I picked up on some things as far as Marcus coming off the bye weekend. Marcus Freeman as a head coach coming off the bye weekend, really successful. The the Stanford Cardinal is they're not at 2-3. They're not having a great year, but the last time they were in Notre Dame, they upset the Irish. So they better be paying attention and be on their toes for this game, or they can get bitten again like they did with Northern Illinois.
Yeah, well, that's a good point. I know Stanford, I think, they're always going to have, obviously, smart players, good players are typically pretty well coached. They always play Notre Dame tough, it seems like. What do you think? What is the Cardinals' challenge on offense against a pretty good Notre Dame defense that has, we know, really good secondary, probably one of the best secondaries we've ever had as a squad, and the defensive line and linebackers that seem to be playing really well too. And I think Al Golden's got a really good scheme. So the Cardinals got their work cut out today. What do you think?
Yeah, no, they do. And the big thing is, they've been plagued a little bit like everybody has. Notre Dame certainly has with injuries. They've got a couple of quarterbacks. I believe the one quarterback, I want to say it was Lamson, could be the other guy. Since I was traveling, I didn't bring my notes with me. I should have. But the one quarterback, I think their starter got hurt against Clemson, brought in the other guy. One's a runner, one's a thrower, but neither one of them really are having great success. As far as their offensive production, I don't think they really pose a big threat to Notre Dame. I think Notre Dame is strong against the run. Their secondary is probably the best part of their defense. They've got a strong defense. So it's a real challenge for Stanford. Going to be able to score some points against a quality defense like Notre Dame, and Notre Dame to date, this season has not been able to score points against a quality team. I know a couple, their losses beginning of the season. I think it was TCU. I want to say they also lose to Clemson. And then I think it was Virginia Tech that they just played and lost to. So, and they won a couple of weaker opponents. So, the challenge it really is for Stanford to move the ball. Now, having said that, Notre Dame can't help them. They can't turn the ball over, give them good field position. They got to make Stanford earn it with every possession.
Well, I think we've talked about it all year that, the Irish defenses look pretty good really every week. I mean, even the Northern Illinois game, they only gave up 16 points. So the offense has definitely been the side of the ball, I think, that has struggled, as we've talked about. A lot of that has to do with, and I'll say it again, Riley Leonard, he missed the last 4 or 5 games at Duke last year. He was out all spring at Notre Dame, and now he's in charge of the Irish. And, so it seems to me like he's gotten better every week. He's clearly a great runner of the ball. And I think the kid's got skills as far as being able to throw the ball. I just feel like he doesn't have confidence, or they're not running the right plays. I mean, I just can't believe that we can't try to move the ball down the field and spread out the defense. It was funny. I was in Orlando last week, and I was talking to Coach Holtz about the current Irish team. And he said to me, Wesley, you got to make the defense cover the whole field. You got to spread them vertically, and you got to spread them horizontally. And he's right. I mean, Lou was a pretty good X and O guy. And look, everybody knows we can run the ball well. We've got 2 good running backs and a quarterback that can run the ball. So, I mean, if you don't spread the ball down the field, they're going to put 8, 9 guys in the box. So, challenge is going to be, is Notre Dame going to run the ball, establish a run first? Is Stanford going to put 9 guys in the box? Are we going to spread it out? I mean, I think that's kind of, the cat and mouse game that's going to go on. What do you think?
Well, no, it's a great analysis. And I love what you're saying. Marcus Freeman, what I've seen in his three years at Notre Dame is that his teams get better as the season goes along.
Definitely.
And the challenge really, I mean, it's hard enough for a quarterback to succeed, is spending all his time with a program. And here you got a guy that comes over. This is his first year. You mentioned he missed the spring. You mentioned the injury. You mentioned a lot of things that kept him from getting the reps and being part of the program, being part of the offense that really he needs to be his best.
Thoughts on the game. Mike, we'll go to you first. What were your thoughts on Georgia Tech?
Georgia Tech was a good game. Notre Dame came out. They gave up 7 points. Started slow for the defense. They kind of got it together. Put up 21 points. It was a lot closer game than what the score. Like in the third quarter, it seemed like Georgia Tech had a chance to get back in it. But Notre Dame's defense played well. They held Georgia Tech, who was averaging 204 yards a game. They held them to, I believe it was 64 yards. 68.
Yeah, way to throw those numbers out. Yeah.
There you go.
That guy.
So the defense shut down the run like we wanted them to, and they played well against the pass. My only concern about the game, defense had a couple scores. The special teams had 2 fake punts, a fake field goal, end around. They did they ran another play. I don't know. The special teams were doing their thing on fourth down.
So to that point, let me build on that, and I want to stay with you, Mike. Is the question was asked to Marcus Freeman? Were you dressing up the score for the playoff committee or the people deciding on who's going to get in? You know what I'm saying? On who's going to get in on the playoffs? Were you making it look good with those? Because they were in control of the game, and all of a sudden these things popped up. What do you think?
Well, I think it was a closer game than what the score showed. And as I believe we might have addressed last week, is their kicker. I know they hadn't had a lot of confidence in their kicker. I think they're running with a second-team field goal kicker. And so I think last week they would be going for it more on fourth downs than kicking the field goals. Now, they didn't do it traditionally. They did it through the kicking special teams, but that's what you have to do, man. You're playing to win the game. You're not worried about last week, and you're not worried about next week. You're playing to win the game. Now, I would say that, halfway through the third quarter, going into the fourth quarter, the offense didn't really do too much. They didn't end the game very well. Defense was able to get a score in to put another 6 points on the board, but the offense didn't shut the game out from the third quarter on. So that was a little worrisome. But other than that, it was a good win.
Awesome. Wes, you were at the game. What was it like tailgating beforehand, and what was it like the atmosphere inside the game?
It was a really good environment. I mean, Tech's natural stadium or their campus is not very far from the Dome.
Downtown? Is it downtown Atlanta?
Yeah, it's pretty much downtown, and the Dome's probably 2 miles from Georgia Tech or something like that, or Mercedes-Benz. But it was a good crowd. I mean, they had I would say the stadium was probably 80-85% full. Tailgating was it was an absolutely gorgeous day, beautiful. The whole Home Depot area, which is where their main tailgating area, was packed. It was a really good environment. I mean, the stadium was loud. The Tech fans were fired up. Notre Dame had, at least 50-60% of the stadium with their fans, traveled well. It was a big day for the Pritchett family. My son, who's a freshman, got to play in his first college football game against my alma mater. So that was
awesome.
He actually got in the game.
Awesome.
So that was pretty special. And
congratulations, that's wonderful.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, it was kind of a surreal moment. And I had realized when I was talking.
Did you cry? Did you cry?
I did not cry, but I was very proud. Very proud.
I was looking hard. I saw number 30 on the field. Running down on the kickoff, he did good.
No, he was he's fast.
Way faster than his dad, I'll tell you that.
Not even. Hey, coach, like 4 steps. No, he's got some motor. You know what? Here's the thing. He was good. They told him he was going to get redshirted. He was on the scout team. He was practicing hard all week. Or for the last 6 weeks, I told him, I said, just grind it out. Do your best. You will get noticed if you're out there grinding it in practice. You remember Zorich when he was on the scout team, and I would like to think that the same thing happened to me. Anyway, long story short, they did notice him, and he got promoted, and he got an opportunity to play. So
awesome.
Hats off to him. He worked hard. He deserves it, and it was definitely a special moment for me. As far as the game. I think Stoney did a good job of summarizing it. Tech came out and looked really good on the first drive, and went down.
They held the ball. You talk about
they were running the ball. They were throwing the ball, and I think over time Notre Dame just got better players. We didn't make a lot of mistakes. I think Riley Leonard continues to get better. I don't think he is a great thrower of the ball, and I don't think he's gonna be. But he runs the ball very well, and I think he's a good sort of manager of the game. You know what I'm saying? Like he doesn't put us when you got a really good defense and you don't turn the ball over on offense. You got a chance. I mean, it's kind of old school football, and that's kind of what we're doing. So it's it's not like it's
kind of vanilla.
It's not the pretty game that everybody wants football to be now. So.
Right. Yeah. No. Yeah. It's and I listening to Marcus Freeman, I hear his comments about he plays with great confidence. He plays with great confidence. He plays with great confidence. So after a while, I'm thinking to myself, "Thou protest too much, Falstaff." I think, just to quote a little Shakespeare, and I know I butchered the shit out of that, but I mean, when you start trying to say he has all this confidence, I think the guy might have a confidence problem, and he's making sure that Riley Leonard hears this in the press conference, and that that gets instilled in him, through that medium, because he's a great. I see his running ability. I think it's exceptional. For a quarterback, God, he's making plays. He's making guys miss. He's got a great instinct when it comes to that. But, throwing the ball, I think he does lack a little confidence in that. As a result, and I think he wanted to emphasize that even more because he did throw the one interception. I think it was what was it, the first series?
First series.
Yeah, the first series, and that'll shake a guy's. That'll shake your confidence a little bit. So, you're right. You don't want a quarterback, costing you the football game, and fortunately he didn't. But I saw it the same way. Notre Dame just wore them down. They wore them down in the second half. Defense made some plays in the second half, took over. I think they caught a break with Zach Pyron, I believe his name.
Yeah.
They caught a break there with the quarterback. But you know what? Hey, that's football. And Notre Dame did what they were supposed to do. I was happy. You know, they covered the 14 points. So
yeah, I think Tech's a totally different team with their starting quarterback. But like you said, football, you know, it's football, and he was out. So next man up mentality. But I thought Notre Dame came out. They weren't flat. I thought they played hard. I thought their linebackers played really, really good in that game. They were flying around. They were making plays. They tackled well.
They tackled well, and what did we say? You know, what have we always been saying? They knocked people backwards.
They did.
You know, they
looked really good. I'm serious. I mean, I noticed it. You know what I mean?
Yep. They were short. You know, third down, they didn't give up that extra 2 yards and make it 4th and a half, or let them get the first down on third down. You know, they were knocking people backwards, and that was good to see.
Yeah. No, I thought they got a group of their linebackers. I don't think they're very old. I mean, I don't know how they play a lot of kids. I can tell you that.
I know they have 3 freshmen out there that are linebackers.
But I'm telling you right now, man, they had guys coming in. It was crazy seeing it, being at the game. How many guys we're actually playing, which means we're deep. You know, they keep saying that we have this is one of the most talented teams we've had. And, and Marcus is a great recruiter. There's no doubt about that. So, and he's he's giving young kids a chance. So there's a lot of stuff I think to be positive about with Notre Dame right now.
So do you think
that to keep it going?
Yeah, I'm going to have to put my Clouseau hat on and investigate why there's so much substitution going on, because I'm a believer in the more you're out there, the more you play, the better you get. And I think that's the way I played. That's the way. I don't know. Mike? How did you feel about that? Did you like being?
No, did I like being sub? No, I didn't like being substituted, Frank.
Yeah.
The team is getting better. You guys' thoughts?
Yeah, it's getting to them. I think pretty much most things that we have discussed, the team has listened to, and they're tackling better, they're playing better. I definitely think it's getting through.
I would agree with Michael. I mean, it's clear that the team, the coaching staff have been listening to Under the Golden Dome. And they're playing with more intensity. They're playing fast. They came out fast. Just all the things that we talked about, Mike. Blocking,
you break down. You break down each week. You break down
the ball down the field. I mean, it's like prophecy almost.
Each week you break down film. I think the coaches have been breaking down each episode of Under the Golden Dome, and I think that they're taking it step by step.
That's a good point, Mike. I'm quite sure that's happening.
Yeah. Now, impressive win. 51-14. Navy, 6 turnovers. And they had not turned the ball over like that, I don't know, in 5 years or something crazy.
They only had 2 turnovers for the whole season.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
And they had 6 turnovers. One of them was a good interception. The other 5 were unforced turnovers.
Wow.
So,
Right. No, you'd like to say Notre Dame created those turnovers, but to your point, unforced turnovers.
Unforced turnovers. So, I had Notre Dame scoring 40-something points and them scoring 24 points, but they were only able to score, 13 points? Because they had 5 unforced turnovers. So that skewed my my numbers there.
Well, look, some games, and sometimes it's the opposite, right? Sometimes you play games and you're the guy that has the turnovers. That's why they say it's hard to stay relevant and win all the games, and every victory is a positive. But I did think that Notre Dame's. I mean, we know the defense has played well all year. I thought the offense. they could not hang with us man to man. We had the better athletes. We exploited that fact. Once again, Riley Leonard didn't really turn the ball over, and he did all the right things and scored a lot of points. So, I mean, the formula's working, and I think they're getting better every week. I do. And that's a good defense and an offense that doesn't turn the ball over, that can bully people over 4 quarters.
All right, so let's get into the weeds. That's the big picture. The getting into the weeds. Notre Dame opens up the game with a couple of passes. One perimeter pass, and I don't know. The other one was, maybe something short and quick. I get it. Establishes rhythm, get confidence with the completions, but it's almost, to me, what I think what Notre Dame is saying there is, there's 2 schools of thoughts. You guys know them both. You start with the pass to open up the run. You start with the run to open up the pass. And this is what I'm getting at, is this is alarming. The perimeter pass, the second down pass, it's almost as if they want to soften up the defense so that they can run the ball better. And this is what scares me. Against Navy, they should just be able to line up and impose their will on Navy. Now, that's not to disparage Navy at all. It's just Notre Dame should have that type of dominance when playing the academies. And as I watched that game, Navy did a great job of I'm not going to say they dominated the line of scrimmage, but they did not get pushed back. They did not. They made some plays. They made some tackles for losses. They were able to penetrate. They were able to get control the line of scrimmage. Notre Dame, if not for the 6 turnovers, that game, I'm not going to say that game would have been a lot closer. It's still probably a double-digit win for Notre Dame, but that game's a lot closer. What surprised me is I thought the stage was a little bit too big for a ranked Navy team. A lot of attention there. The running back fumbling the pitch, that's elementary. The quarterback, the ball slipping out of his hand on the goal line, resulted in a score for Notre Dame. The muffed punt, those are things that, to me, that nerves come into play. But Notre Dame they still have a lot of work. I thought Riley Leonard looked a little bit better. Wes, you mentioned the matchups downfield. I think Notre Dame had better athletes downfield. When they brought the pressure, they had to go man-to-man with them, and Notre Dame was superior in that effort. But Notre Dame, in my opinion, when you look at the numbers weren't all that ridiculous. Time of possession was about even. Yards per carry, if I remember correctly, or yards on the ground, were similar. I'm getting.
They were close. They were close. Notre Dame had that 4 touchdowns off of their 6 turnovers.
Yeah, right.
And so, other than that, Navy had 143 rushing yards, and 2 of those were big quarterback runs in the first half, right? But then at the end of the game, Navy wound up, they had 88 passing yards and 222 rushing yards.
Right. No, yeah. And, field position had a lot to do with probably the skewed numbers on Notre Dame's part.
Notre Dame only had, I think, maybe 240, rushing yards.
Right. They operated on a short field a lot of times, if any field at all. When I say that, there was, on that fumble in the end zone, that was 7 points right there off of no offense.
And I think they both had 2 punts. So Navy only punted the ball twice. Notre Dame only punted the ball twice. Navy had those 6 turnovers, and they were still able. The quarterback had those 2 long runs. They were still able to put points on the board. They just turned the ball over.
I'm looking at the stats. They had a running back. Horvath had 129 yards. They had another guy with 51 and another guy with 33. So what is that? 130, 180, 210 rushing, and Notre Dame had 100 Love had 102, Leonard had 83, and Young had 52, and then we had a guy with 20, so 72. So we had 250, they had 210 in rushing yards.
Yeah, the difference, absolutely. The difference in that game it was the turnovers. And at the skilled position. I saw Riley Leonard started the game wonderfully, 6 for 6. And that's the way they want him to start the game. And we'd keep Marcus Freeman talks about his confidence. They're doing a lot in order to build his confidence with that type of accuracy or completion percentage. So mission accomplished there. Did they start better? These are some of the things a couple of games ago that Marcus Freeman talked about that they need to improve on. Did they start better? Yeah, they did start better. What were the other things that he talked about as far as wanting to improve on? Third down conversions. They were better. I think they were over 50% on their third down conversions, and that was great. The one area, there was about 5 of them. I know one of them was penalties. They did not improve on penalties. They had 9 penalties. They had 1 penalty on about the 1 yard line, and that took away a score. That kind of shit gets you beat in the big games.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, Navy also, along with those 6 turnovers on the kickoff, the kid didn't field the kickoff and it bounced out of bounds at the 4 yard line. So they just kind of shit the bed all over in every aspect of the game. So, they weren't prepared to play Notre Dame.
They played like Navy midshipmen that just came back from shore leave like the night before. You think they were out partying, the night before?
I do not think that. I think it's what you said, though, Frank. I think the stage was very big for them. It was ranked against ranked. They were in the Giant Stadium, MetLife Stadium.
They were 6-0.
Yeah, 6-0, playing Notre Dame. I mean, they kind of.
That's why like I think that one
they underperformed.
Yeah, that one interviewer asked Ned Bolkar, is this Notre Dame defense elite? And Ned, he didn't fall for the trap, right? And he's like, well, hold on, let's see them play some ranked teams. Let's see them play some of the better teams. And I think that's what you got out of Navy is they weren't ready to play the big boys and the good teams.
Yeah, what happens if they play at Georgia or Oregon or I don't know. We've watched Notre Dame from the time we played, up until today, and we've we've been let down. And I can remember the Alabama game in 2012, 2013 when we were, ranked really high. We went down there and they just absolutely rolled us. I think our defense is better than it has been. I do. I really do. But I don't know how it holds up against an Oregon or a Penn State or whoever the best team in the Big Ten is. I don't know. What do you think, Frank? Or how about a Georgia? I mean, what does Georgia do to them?
I think Notre Dame
do to them?
I want to address your point, but to Mike's point, I saw that, Ned shared that interview with us. And I thought he did a good job in that too. And I got a kick out of that question. And how I would have answered that question is, you only achieve elite status after the season, and if you're a national champion.
Remember, Lou used to always say that eventually they're going to flinch, and I think that's what will happen. I think if Notre Dame comes out and plays their game, doesn't have turnovers, plays fast, gets up, instills their will or whatever, forces their will upon them. I mean,
right. You would like to see them. We talk about it every week, and you'd like to see them come out and punch them right in the mouth. On the opening drive, either shut them down or run right down the field and get some points on the board, and start the game off that way to set a tone for the next 4 games here. That we belong here and we're going to take this the rest of the way.
No, you bring up a great point. This is a good chance because there's some still doubters out there. I don't know who's ranking the teams, if it's the sports writers, the other coaches, or, it's the NCAA or whatever, who determines getting in the playoffs. But, there's some question with that NIU loss. There's some question of whether or not Notre Dame
and
should
the
be in
Texas A&M loss this past weekend.
Well, I was going to say that our best win by far had been Texas A&M. They got smoked by South Carolina.
That hurt a little bit.
South Carolina looked good. Holy cow. South Carolina, their quarterback's been hurt. That guy, man, when he's healthy, they're as good as anybody. They really, if you go back and look, South Carolina, they got beat. Ole Miss beat them. They had a game that Ole Miss beat them pretty well. But
Ole Miss is kicking the shit out of people.
Yeah, they're good. They lost to Alabama by 2 points at Alabama, and they had LSU beat, and they called a pick six back, and they ended up losing by a couple points to Ole Miss. I mean to LSU. But
well, I'll tell you what I like about South Carolina, and I know they've got some players, but I'll tell you that coach, isn't it Frank Beamer's son there?
Yeah. My son loved him, by the way.
Yeah,
absolutely loved him.
Yeah,
I got to meet. We spent some time with him. He's one of those guys that he's not full of shit. Like he's a real nice guy. He genuinely cares. Seriously.
Oh, that's good. I like it.
I mean, he was, of all the coaches, he was the only coach that came to my kid's school and went into his dorm room and sat with him in his dorm room and like hung out with him.
Nice.
Kind of interesting. I don't know what that means. He really liked him. He just wasn't going to go to South Carolina. I wasn't going to let him.
No, that's very interesting. And and really and Holtz ended up at South Carolina, and he takes that program in I think 2 or 3 years. Shit, he's beaten Ohio State in the bowl game, and that's, to me, that's what I'm saying is the head coach makes a difference. They can turn chicken salad or chicken shit into chicken salad. And
I think that you guys know this. I mean, look at Notre Dame. I mean, do you think we had great talent before Lou got there? Lou gets there, all of a sudden we win. I mean, I think Alabama had great players, but Nick Saban was I'm sitting like, coaching absolutely makes a difference in college.
Well, Lou's first year was my first year also, Wes. So you've got that.
Exactly. So when you guys came in, everything went up. I mean, we had, we went from the outhouse to the penthouse.
There you go.
Now he brought in some talent, Mike.
Dude, Stoney's year. I mean, that's probably his best recruiting class. Think about the guys in your class.
And they talked about how bad the recruiting class was, right? But
that year they did?
Yeah.
You had Tony
Terrell, Rice,
T-Light,
Terrell, Stams, not T-Light,
McGraw,
Anthony Johnson, who else did we have? We had everybody.
Ricky Waters?
No, he was behind us.
What year behind you?
Braxton Banks was my year.
Hey,
that's a stacked team. Stacked year, I mean.
Yeah. So, all right, where were we? We were at on Florida State. Yeah, you give them some hope, and they'll make the game close. They got their troubles, but if you pound them, I think, you
pound them. That last game, they gave up a lot of bomb plays. They gave up a couple turnovers. They're just not playing as a good unit right now. And
he's lost the locker room in that team.
It seems like it. Yeah, it seems like it. Then I think you're going to find that, I think, with a lot of teams, especially in this NIL era, that once the hope for a winning season is gone, they're still getting paid no matter what. So I think you're going to lose a lot of locker rooms. And
I think they've made such a big deal now about the 12 team. I totally agree. And the big deal now with the 12 team, like if you're not in the 12 team playoff, who cares, right?
Right.
I mean, I wouldn't say North Carolina's having their best year, and they just blew out Florida State last week. So,
well, it's definitely a game they should win. And getting back to the original thought there, this is an opportunity now for Notre Dame really to start pouring it on. I mean, they're like a 25-point favorite, and for these people that are ranking the teams and seeing who's going to be in the playoff, this is a perfect opportunity this week, next week against Virginia, and the following week I forget who they have, but I do know they have Army left in Southern Cal. Is a perfect opportunity for Notre Dame to finish out strong and say, hey, yeah, we definitely belong in the playoff. And not only that, but get up there where you're ranked, 5 through 8, so that you can actually host a game. That would be really, really key.
Yep, and keep putting those, 40 points on the scoreboard, and have your defense out there keeping guys under 20 points, man, and you're dominating. If you can continue that streak and shut people down and impose your will on them, then no matter what the strength of the remaining teams are, it's going to put you in a good spot, and they're going to have to put Notre Dame in a at least number 5, right?
They will be. Well, I mean, look, like you said, one team has scored over. Well, Northern Illinois scored 16 points. Nobody else has scored more than that except Louisville, 24. So we've been saying it all year. I think that the defense is really good, and they seem to be relatively healthy. Flying around, I think Al Golden's a very good coach, one of the best coordinators probably out there. And so the offense is gelling every week and getting better, not turning the ball over, and you're playing good defense. We got the guys too. I saw the game at Georgia Tech game. It was there. Notre Dame's. I've never seen Notre Dame substitute guys like that on defense. Their D line, the linebackers, they're absolutely 2 guys across playing in the games and playing and not going down from the first group to the second group. So I think we're deep. I think we've got the guys.
That's good depth, right? That's good camaraderie. It's not just 11 guys out there. Everybody's contributing. Everybody's putting, giving it an effort. Everybody gets credited for it. So it's good for the team.
So when I look at Florida State's numbers, and I'm looking at them now, I mean, total points they're averaging per game is 14. That's not strong. They've total first downs 128. The rushing first downs are 42 versus the passing first downs at 76. That says to me that they're playing behind the sticks a lot. They don't have a ground game. If they're staying on the field on third down, which they're right now at 25%, which is dismal. If they're staying on the field at third down, it's through the pass. So Notre Dame certainly, 2 things. Wants to get that pass rush. As far as remember we mentioned the 30 sacks. It'd be a great game for these guys to build some confidence, tee off, just lay their ears back and go. Win on first and second down, and then on third down, just really dominate both up front and then in the secondary. Jump the receiver. The receiver, I don't believe the quarterback's going to be playing with a lot of confidence. So, take some chances. And looking at the rest of it, as far as, their turnovers, time of possession, 25 minutes, that's not strong. So it's definitely
Notre Dame needs to get out there. Notre Dame needs to get out there and punch them in the mouth and take their spirit away. And none of that matters. Just beat them up from the first snap and dominate the game and just shut them out. It's a
last 2 games.
Kickoff?
Their last 2 games, they lost to North Carolina 35-11 and Miami 36-14.
Irish fans, you're under the Golden Dome with your hosts, Michael Stonebreaker, Wes Pritchett, Frank Stams, 3 Amigos linebackers from the '88 National Championship team, breaking down this year's 2024 Irish. I think it's a great setup for Notre Dame to have a big blowout again. I think it sets well. I think Notre Dame plays fast on defense. They're strong against the run. Those linebackers led by Kaiser, he can fly. I think their secondary is strong. We saw what they were able to do.
You know, Florida State's 1-8, right? I didn't realize that. They've lost 5 in a row. 1-8.
Right. So the Irish came out. You know, it was what 21-3 at halftime. It was a little bit closer. It was more competitive than that. They scored the third touchdown with only a couple seconds left to go in the half. But if they wouldn't have scored that, and it would have been 14-3 going into the half, it didn't feel like it was that big of a difference. But second quarter came around and Notre Dame just opened it up and beat them up. I have here your buddy Riley Leonard rushed for 2 touchdowns and Notre Dame threw for what, 4 other touchdowns and had a pick 6, so they had 7 touchdowns total. Notre Dame passed for 252 yards and rushed for 201 yards. So they, as you said, they threw more than they passed, so they weren't running out that clock running the ball. But that's balance right down the line.
And they gave up 3 points on defense. I mean,
yeah, 3.
Yeah. I mean, that's,
That's as if not more impressive than the 52 they scored because, they scored 21. They got a pick 6 in the fourth quarter. They got a long run in the fourth quarter. And the backup quarterback threw a touchdown in the fourth quarter. But, yeah, holding Florida State to 3 points, that's pretty impressive. You mentioned – their defense is the defense is in the top 12 as far as total defense. Their offense also is in the top 12 as far as total offense. So, they're definitely going the right direction with this. And, we talked about that last week, how this team continues to get better and get better and get better. Now, listening to Marcus Freeman in his postgame, his big thing is how do you be great? And being great is being consistent. Well, this week, this is, to me, in my opinion, at 8-1, this is the week. This is the week. You're coming in. Virginia's coming in. They're coming off a win against Pittsburgh. They've played some close games. A lot of their games they've lost by just 1 point or less. And, their quarterback is
you can't lose by less than 1.
Their quarterback is their quarterback is a bit of a gunslinger. I heard. He's got some talent. What did I say?
You said they've lost a couple of games by less than one point or less.
Yeah, Frank, that Calandria, gunslinger.
Right.
He has 1,948 throwing yards, 12
Really?
touchdowns. Yeah, 12 touchdowns and 8 interceptions. Riley Leonard has 9 touchdowns and 3 interceptions.
Pitt's not a bad team.
No, they're not. I think that's a pretty good win for Virginia. If you look at, Virginia's had a couple of games they got, beat soundly, but they've also played a lot of guys really close. But it's one of those things where there's no way Notre Dame's not better across the board. Our guys are playing better. They're bigger. They're stronger. They're faster. We should win the game. But that's football, and things are going to happen, and that's why they play the games. I do want to say this. So, my son plays for Georgia Tech, and he's buddies with all the offensive line, the guys on the offense that were talking about it. They said after the game that Notre Dame's defense was the best team they've played across every position by leaps and bounds anybody in the ACC.
Good.
So
That's good to hear, man.
yeah, I mean, they said they were big, strong, fast. Like they were very, players don't usually give the other guys street cred.
Right.
And my son's like, Dad, all the offensive guys just kept saying, man, that defense was unbelievable. So, we've been saying it all year, but I mean, I think Al Golden is the real deal. I think he's a great defensive coordinator, and I think they got the guys. I know the linebackers are good, and we got 2 or 3 D linemen. Who knows? I mean, in my opinion, over the last 20 years, the SEC has really, and maybe Ohio State, and I guess Michigan too, but it's been all the big guys. The big guys up front. Notre Dame, to me, was lacking on the defensive line compared to those teams, and I think this year we're not lacking. So I don't know. What are your thoughts?
I agree. We're not lacking, and they could be even better because of the amount of injuries that they've had at D-line and all that. So
Right.
they're getting guys in and out every couple weeks, and then who's that? Cross? What's that kid's name? Who's going to be out for the Virginia?
Howard Cross.
Yeah, Cross is out for that game, and then but they got somebody else back. So it's been that round
but they're
robin
playing. I'm just
kind of
telling you
thing.
right now, watching them in that game that I was there. I don't know. Maybe you guys saw this at Notre Dame. I hadn't seen. That's the only game I saw in person. They substitute, man. They're too deep. They're running guys in and out the whole game on defense. I couldn't
And
believe the amount of substitutions.
when you say that, I think about, as you mentioned, Alabama and them substituting
Yeah.
like those 3 defensive linemen
Yeah.
every other play. Just those
Yeah.
big, thick dudes running in and out every
Yeah.
other play.
We've never been able to do that though.
Yeah.
Of
Well,
course, and it goes back to what we said. I would have never let somebody come in for me. That would have been
Yeah.
ridiculous.
yeah,
Yeah,
no,
but it's a different game now.
different
Well, you
approach
think
now.
it's changed in 35 years?
Well, the approach has changed. Yeah, no, I mean that's
No,
what
I
you
was
do.
being funny. No, it is a totally different game.
I got you. Yeah, no, well, with Howard Cross out, that's big. He had 3 sacks in the game against Florida State. He's a force. He's their best defensive lineman. All right, that's to me that's gonna hurt. This team, Virginia, gives up sacks. I think they gave up 8 sacks against Pittsburgh.
They better buckle up, Buttercup.
You're going to need to pressure the quarterback. So they got a next man up mentality. But I'm glad that's so impressive to me because that's what matters. When you tell that story about your son and the players at Georgia Tech, because those are the guys that's what I would want to listen to.
Yeah, no. I said it because I only bring it up because it was impressive. Like he hasn't said that after any game.
Right. That's a real gauge of where Notre Dame is. So
Right, that's not the media talking about it.
No.
That's guys who were getting hit in the face talking
Yes.
about it,
And couldn't block guys and had guys running by him. Yeah.
Yeah, so this, Marcus talks about consistency. So this is going to be a big test. They're a 22-point favorite, 22.5-point favorite. To me, that's way too many points. But what do I know? I haven't nailed a game all year long. But I don't know. And so Marcus. So here's where I kind of disagree with Marcus as far as his game prep. And maybe he's doing it, he's just not talking about it in the press, as he talks about each game being a big game, Super Bowl game. All right? To me, and you're shaking your head, Mike, and I'm going to want to hear to me, you can't say things like that because the players know this is not a Super Bowl game.
Yeah, but don't you remember what Lou used to say? Exactly the opposite of that. It's just another game. We prepare for this game just like we prepare for every game. We're going to be better prepared. We're going to have a better game plan, and we're going to execute better. And the other
every game's not a Super Bowl.
No.
It's in the next game. You're going to put so much emphasis on this game is so much bigger than last game or the next. It's this game is all it is. This is the biggest game. This is the next game. it's not a soup, like you can't like try to overhype it. Like you need to prepare your folks to play every single week with the same intensity. So to use to try to use a Super Bowl as a hype for a game is just get them prepared properly, and you don't have to try to hype them up for a game.
See, that's what I was thinking. Focus on the individual and getting the individual prepared to play the game, and then everything else falls in line. Because you can't say this is the game. I mean, you're playing Rice. This is the game. Players are going to start to thinking, this isn't the game.
I don't know about you guys. I do know, but I'm saying I don't know about you guys, but we didn't go into games jumping around in the locker room, hitting our heads against the walls. You know what I mean? We sat around with our linebackers BSing among ourselves, and we'd get together and we'd go out and we'd play football. It's no big hype like hit me, and you don't need to hype up. If you're mentally prepared and you're properly prepared, you go out and you do the job and you win and you go home.
Well,
Yeah,
I think,
I agree.
I think Lou would never have said that a game was bigger than another game. It was just like you said, just another game. Like you got to buy into your process and the way that you prepare for a game, whether it's every game. By the way, you should be just as prepared for every game. So there's not a difference, right?
Yeah, no, I agree. And I always thought that was when people talk about pressure, really pressure is self-imposed, because if you do treat everything like the same and you prepare for every game the same way, then really, and you're playing Rice the same way as you're playing Southern Cal, then really there is no,
Let down.
where's the pressure? The
There's
pressure,
no pressure.
there's no pressure.
Now,
It's a standard.
us linebackers preparing for a game, I said wasn't a lot of hoopla. It was us amongst ourselves. Now, I remember one time somebody viewed us before a game getting ready, and that was Jim Russ, our trainer. And he came up to us and he's like, "What is wrong with you guys? You guys need to get your heads in the game. What's going on?"
I don't remember that. What game was that?
It was a Pittsburgh game. And we looked at Jim. I looked at Jim. I'm like, "Jim, shut the fuck up, man. Like, what are you
fucking
doing?"
tape an ankle.
And then after the game, he came up and he's like, "Oh man, Stoney, man, he apologized. Like, sorry, man, I've just never been around you guys before the game." I'm like, and Big John was like, "Jim, those are linebackers. That's what linebackers do." Big John said that.
Yeah.
Oh, embarrassing. Jim Russ, man, he was a trip. We used to mess with him so bad. I remember that senior year, it was so hot that going into that season, it was ungodly hot in training camp. And Jim was so conscientious. You talk about dotting I's and crossing T's, and always, and naive. And it was just,
for sure.
And he was relatively new. I remember, he was real concerned about guys overheating, and so. Wes, you may remember this, but we made a plan to go down, to fake heat exhaustion in different parts of the field. And I'd go down, another guy would go down on the other side of the field, and another guy would go down on another side of the field, and have his training staff, his student trainers, running all over the place. Running all over the place, and then he got wise to it, and then he got pissed. He got pissed that we were doing that.
I honestly think I messed with him every day of my life that I was at the football facility. Every single day.
Right. It was just like
in some little minor way. Because he was so anal, so it was so easy to mess with him.
He had a sign on it. It was like he had a sign on his forehead that said "F with me."
Yes, 100%.
Yamal, 18 years old, man, playing for Barcelona. That kid's ridiculous.
youngest kid ever to score a goal in the World Cup, youngest kid ever to score a goal in the La Liga league, and that kid's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Well, I got to tell you, man. Speaking of talk about shifting gears, I've never been a huge soccer fan, but this past World Cup was off the charts. Just the just I guess when the level of athleticism is that high. I don't like the flop. It's the only thing that drives me nuts.
Nuts, man. It's really absolutely ridiculous.
But other than that, the games were awesome. I mean, I really enjoyed them. I thought, and especially at the highest level, man, they are so good and just and so well evenly matched. You know, it was I enjoyed it. I never thought I'd like soccer, but I do.
Irish Nation, you're under the Golden Dome with your hosts, three linebackers from the '88 championship team: Wes Pritchett, Michael Stonebreaker, Frank Stams, talking Irish football, past and present. You know, we started to break down the Irish team. I did the defense, and looking to the offense. You know, the offensive line to me, if I were to grade them out, I'd give them an 8 out of 10. You know, I think
two freshmen, by the way.
Yeah, there's been some chemistry issues there. A little lack of experience, but an 8, to be honest with you, is being generous. I think if they go up against a real seasoned, hard-nosed defensive line like Ohio State or maybe Oregon or Alabama or Georgia, it might be a long day for them. The running backs, I think, are as good as any running backs in the nation. And the receivers, I give them a B. But the quarterback, to me, he can run the ball, but as far as throwing the ball, he's a C plus. So going forward, if they do make the playoff, I think they got a decent chance of winning the first game at home. But after that, it's going to be all uphill.
As far as the offensive, hold on, Wes. The offensive line, I'm going to give them. Would you give them an 8?
Yeah.
I think they're a 9 if they're an 8 because of the play calling. They pass the ball too much. If they would run the ball a little bit more and let them dominate a little bit more, I think that pass protection would be a little bit easier for them. But I don't think Notre Dame runs the ball enough. Thank you.
Yeah, I think a lot of these coordinators think they have to run their offense a certain way instead of doing what they do well. I mean, we've talked about it ad nauseum about this freaking one back, no counter, just like zone play. I freaking hate that play.
Slow developing run play.
I would line up an I-back with that offensive line and run it downhill with a fullback and smash people in the mouth.
Yep.
But
no, I'm with you on that. I looked at their the plays that they ran. I think it was, I want to say it was pretty balanced. The run pass. It was maybe. I think they were 33 attempts throwing the ball, 36 rushes. It was pretty close to being balanced. But I'm with you guys. And I remember Belichick playing for Belichick, and he said, hey, listen, if they're gonna, it does. I mean, we don't go into a game wanting to be balanced. If they're going to line up and dare us to pass or dare us to run, we'll just run the ball all game long. And I think that's what Mike, you're saying, and Wes, you're saying too, is just blast them. And that will toughen up an offensive line. And if it doesn't, then you know who's going to play for you and who not.
But hey, look, you run the ball, and then when they put 8, 9 guys in the box, you spread it out. They widen out, then you run the ball again. It's not rocket science.
Right. How do you see the Army game, Mike?
I see, to be honest, I hadn't seen too much of Army play.
And they run the triple option,
they're tough.
Like Navy does.
Well, hope.
I mean, some of the questions that were asked in the post game is, how do you rate their athlete? Does it compare to Notre Dame? The other one is are they going to give you the same thing as Navy gave you? These are the questions they asked Marcus.
Right. Well, you get that defensive line and you get your linebackers once again, just like that that Air Force game, right? Is dive, quarterback, pitch again. You get your corners coming up and making tackles, and just play solid defense.
I mean, here's the thing: they're gonna probably move the ball. I mean, at the end of the day, we have better athletes. They haven't really played anybody. I'm looking at their schedule: Temple, Tulsa, North Texas, East Carolina, UAB, Air Force. I mean, come on. Rice. I think Notre Dame's athletes are going to be there. Like you said, Mike, you got to play discipline. You're going to have to play hard. They're going to make first downs. They're going to keep the ball. I mean, the strength. Sorry about that. What I was going to say is any team that runs the wishbone and runs it effectively, they're going to make first downs and they're going to eat the clock and they're going to keep the ball out of our offense's hands. So I mean, that was something that I heard them talking about. Is most of the people that play Army only get let's say 7 possessions a game or 8 possessions a game if they're running their offense well. So it'll be interesting to see if we can shut their offense down, get the ball. Because I don't think there's no way they should be able to slow our offense down. I mean, I would think our offense should dominate when they have the ball. What do you think? I mean, we should be able to run the ball, play action, spread the field.
I'm with you. I think it's Notre Dame's game to lose. I think the margin for error is much greater. Or I should say, Army has a less of a margin for error than Notre Dame. Notre Dame can get away with making a few more mistakes than Army, but not many, because what I worry about for Notre Dame, and we haven't seen this a lot this year because Notre Dame's played mostly in front. You haven't seen a Notre Dame team a lot this year come from behind, if at all, and win the game. And that's what I worry with these slow starts that we talk about, and sometimes being one-dimensional, maybe with just the run, and say Riley Leonard isn't on early, and then you get into these later months with maybe in Yankee Stadium what the weather's going to be like. Is he going to be on? It's going to be a huge stage for him too. He's just getting with only 1 year. I mean, that's a lot to ask a Notre Dame player. You're playing in the 100th game between Notre Dame and Army. That's a huge stage for Riley Leonard. And, Army's at home. Like you said, Wes, it's pretty much a home game for Army. So what I'm getting at is there's a lot of intangibles there that can kind of upset the apple cart and put Notre Dame in a close game in the second half. And then,
well, here's the thing. If you don't come out ready to play, you guys know, if you don't come out ready to play against an armed services team, you are in, and they're never going to stop fighting. They're going to give you 120%.
They're going to try to punch. They're going to They're going to come out and punch you in the mouth because that's what you want them to do, And it's a night game. What is it? 7:30 kickoff. It's going to be 40 degrees.
Let me ask you guys a question. This is something I just thought about. So playing inside linebacker for me and being a tall guy, whenever I played Air Force or whoever we played, I mean, everybody in the world's trying to cut me. Guards cut me, tackles cut me, fullbacks cut me, tight ends cut me. You can't do that anymore. You can't block guys below the waist. And I think certainly not outside the tackle zone. I don't know what the rules are in the tackle zone. So do those guys have to block up high now? Because if they do, we have a huge advantage. I mean, to me, their advantage was the way that they could cut block, before. How does the rules of football change that now? I've never thought about it till now.
Neither have I, Wesley.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, to me, it's like any other block. You can cut blocking can be effective, but only if you execute it the right way. If you're shitty at cut blocking, then
I'm saying cut blocking to me gave them it overcame the size advantage. If they want to hit me up high, I would have freaking I'll take on any of those guys. But when they cut you now, all of a sudden they're in advantage. They stop me. So yeah. I think it favors Notre Dame if they can't cut block.
Right. Well, it could. I mean, and the point I was make is, I mean, with the cut block, I mean, you're a one-hit wonder. I mean, you go down and throw at a guy's legs, and then you're either blocking him, or if he's on his feet, then bam, that's it. You know, by moving your feet, staying in his face, and really today's blocking is really just body position with a lot of the zone blocking. You just want to get between your guy and the ball carrier. That's the way I see it. So to me, I'd rather have somebody try to throw my legs because, you know, I just give a little bit, play them off with my hands, and then get to the ball.
Yeah, that's weird. You know, a lot of guys tried to chop block me, but nobody was ever successful doing it, so I can't really relate to what you guys are talking about.
Mike, do you think that was because you had such a low center of
Well,
gravity?
that could have helped also, Wesley. Thank you for pointing that out.
Because
So,
I
all
looked
right,
like
let's
a
get
giraffe
that.
out there. They were all trying to block
Yeah.
me.
Well, you know what? I think Notre Dame is going to be challenged in this game. I don't know what the line is on it, and really at this point of the season, I don't really care. I just want Notre Dame to win the game and get that home game in December.
Good quiz takers.
Well,
Let's see how they are.
We're gonna find out. Look, if they beat Southern Cal soundly, then you know.
Okay, so let's talk about beating
What Southern Cal's? What 4 and 6? What is USC's
6 and 5.
6? You know, is that
4
really?
and 1 at home. Okay, listen. So what are they going to run into out there? They're going to run into one that a coach, he knows what he's doing. It's a good coach. I mean, a lot of the, you know, the guy.
They're running into a coach that likes to pass the ball and not run the ball, and he's getting in trouble for trying to pass the ball too much and not run the ball as much as more.
Okay,
He
so
likes
what
to
is he
throw
going
the
to need?
ball.
If he's you know, I don't know how stubborn he is, but I don't see him changing his MO going into this game. So what is he going to need passing the ball? He's going to need to be able to protect that quarterback. And I saw that quarterback's numbers; they're pretty good. And I don't think I think he's only been sacked, or no, that's the defense sack, and they've had 18 sacks on the year. I don't know how many times the quarterback's been sacked, but if they can if they can give him time, and you know, those receivers, we're talking about their athletes. That was the one thing that I noticed about their athletes is, man, those wide receivers, damn. I mean, they all were like 6'2", 6'3", 6'4", you know, 215 pounds or, you know, 200 pounds. I mean, they were all big time receivers. Now, I don't know what kind of personnel they
How's
have.
their route running, Frank?
Yeah,
Well, I think the one thing that Al Golden, I mean, I think Al Golden's a great coach. I do. And I think that he's done a really good job of disguising fronts, looking like a zone, you know, looking like man, going out to zone and doing zone blitzes and switching it up. I mean, you know, I think this year on defense, can't talk about the offense. It feels like our defense, for the most part, has outcoached the other side. So, and we've had the dudes to play.
They've taken away whatever the other offenses.
Yeah, I mean, so
were
I
trying
think
to do,
it's
without
not.
a doubt.
He's not. It's not going to be a new system. Lincoln Riley's going to have tendencies, whether when he was at Oklahoma or where he's at Southern Cal, and we'll see. We'll see. I mean, at the end of the day, you got to execute. Right? It doesn't matter. If you can have the best game plan in the world, if the guy in front of you keeps beating you, your game plan is not so good. So,
yeah. Well, I mean, you know, Notre Dame, I think, you know, and I agree with you, Mike. I mean, they haven't taken the final exam or even close to it. They are playing well. The defense is flying around. I think they're playing more physical up front, and they're gonna. You know, I see them continuing to do that. What I worry about for them is not getting to the quarterback, and the quarterback for SC having a day and start throwing that ball downfield, and then all of a sudden that puts, you know, it changes, to me, it changes the complexion of the game. You know, when you start getting into a track meet with the other team. I don't think the last 3 or 4 or 5 weeks that they've played a team with this kind of potential or scoring potential as SC. And they are going to have to step up their game, and, you know, and they need to do it in the first half, because I don't know what kind of catch-up they can play in the second half. Now, offensively, I think they want to be, more run than pass. And I guarantee you, you'll see the game start out with Riley Leonard throwing some high percentage passes to build his confidence, quick releases, throwing the ball on time, something to build his confidence, which Marcus Freeman has talked about him all year long, is confidence.
I mean, listen, I think his confidence levels probably has to be increasing given his performance and the team's performance. But I mean, look, we've got good tight ends, we've got decent wide receivers, and we have elite running backs. So we have weapons ourselves too.
Right, and I noticed you didn't include the offensive line in there.
Well, I mean, I think the offensive lines actually played really well. They're just young, but I think the young guys have gotten a lot better. Didn't we lose like 2 senior guys preseason?
I think it was all patchworked up at the beginning of the season.
Yeah. But I mean, look, the O-line's clearly played I mean, the reason Jeremiah Love has the numbers that he has is because the offensive line is doing their job. So I should have mentioned the offensive line. I didn't, but
no. I think the offensive line is the question mark going into this game. Are they going to be able to control the line of scrimmage? Is Jeremiah Love going to be able to get the 10 yards of carry against SC that he got against West Point? The answer to me is no. But if they consistently win on first down and make life easier for Riley Leonard on 3rd and short, or make it life easier for those coaches on 3rd and short, then it's going to be a whole nother game. And it's all about, it's all about where they're going to be as far as, on the sticks.
Get out there, Frank. You have a good Thanksgiving dinner on Thursday. What day do they play the game? Saturday?
Saturday.
Is it a Saturday game? You have your good team Thanksgiving. You get a little rest. You get out there and fire it up, man. Going to the West Coast, playing in the Coliseum. Are you kidding me? What time's the game? 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock on a Saturday afternoon in the Coliseum. You win the game. You're going to the playoffs. You're in the championship.
That's why you
get out there and dominate. Right. That's why you went to Notre Dame. Get out there, play ball, and knock somebody in the dirt. You know what I mean?
100%.
And I like to go in here and hang out sometimes and have some beer. And so I'm going to come in and I'm going to
let me set it up for you. Irish Nation, you're under the Golden Dome and live from Bourbon Street with Mike Stonebreaker.
Wait a minute, what? Tony Price, what are you doing?
I have a special guest.
And our special guest.
Wow. That was
You guys doing okay?
Man, everything's great, man. You look good, man. You
guys look the best.
Antoine, I'm going to call you Antoine now that you're in New Orleans. You got that mustache.
Today with the podcast?
So,
You should be down here.
Football and
I think I'm going to take you outside so I can hear you.
What are the Irish do to beat Georgia in a couple of days?
Oh, I got down here. So I got here Thursday morning. Came here early because I had buddies down here. I was like, let me call Stoney to see if he's going to be available.
Got some technical.
And I didn't know you guys were doing the podcast today. So it worked out okay.
We've got a spotty connection with Mike live from Finnegan's Bar on Bourbon Street, right across from Pat O'Brien's. I know Mike will be there. Here, Tony, and our special guest today is quarterback of the 1988 National Championship team, Tony Wright. Tony, what are your thoughts on Georgia?
I never liked Georgia, but it's more like this. Anytime that the Notre Dame, the Fighting Irish comes to play against any team, I root against the opposite team, so obvious I'm going for them. I'm glad that it worked out that I happen to be down here at the same time that they're going to be playing the game. So I'm going to stay here until the 5th. Stand at my favorite bar, Finnegan Easy. So if you guys are coming down, please come over here, enjoy us. I will be here having a good time and join the fun.
Hey, you guys try it. Try to work to a better spot.
See,
where we
see if
get
you can
you.
work to a better.
Okay,
We
I
can't
will.
hear anything you're saying. Try to get Wi-Fi connection or a better spot with your phone.
Stoney should have had Wi-Fi here, but obviously didn't. How about
Hey,
now?
you're good right there. We can hear you. We can hear you better there. So where
Okay,
are
it's
you
good.
exactly?
In the French Quarter, down here on Finnegan Easy,
What
across from Pat
What's the name of the
O'Brien's.
bar?
Finnegan Easy
Oh,
is the name of
Finnegan
the place.
Easy.
717 St. Peter's Street.
Hey, Frank.
Somehow, I don't
Hey,
see
Frank.
how anything happened with
Frank.
you two on purpose.
Frank,
Yeah?
you know a guy named Ken Howard from Akron High
Yeah.
School?
Yeah, I do
You-
know Ken Howard.
You went to school with his sister, Ken Howard.
Yeah. I do remember Ken Howard and
All
his
right,
sister.
good.
Hey, by the
Is
way,
he-
why
is-
do you have a hoodie on? Is
It's
it
a
cold
little
up there?
chilly. It's a little chilly up here. Yeah.
Got out of jail.
And
That's what
also,
they-
Frank is sporting the
Yeah.
Irish 88 Championship apparel line, irish88.com, n88d.com.
How can I get one? Just explain to everyone how I can get one of
Oh,
those.
well, Mike will hook you up with that. You're
Well, you
standing
can go
next
to
the guy.
www.n88d.com and order yours today.
Right.
That's what I'm trying to get to.
Yeah, sorry. I was a little slow on the uptake there, Tony. Sorry about that.
Frank,
Yeah.
you went to Akron St. Vincent St. Mary High School, right?
That's right. Yes, sir. Yeah.
Okay,
It
yeah.
used to be the high school I went to, and then LeBron James came along.
You don't remember me. You went to school with my sister.
What's
I
your
was a
sister?
handsome guy like 2 years older than you.
Yeah.
That you went Diane Howard and Joyce Howard.
Oh, sure. I remember your sister.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah.
Don't say
Are
it
you
in a
live
bad
down
way.
there
I
now,
remember your
Sam?
sister.
What's up, baby?
Okay, hey guys, it was great chatting with you. I'll let you guys be, and don't forget, come down here to Finnegan Easy.
Hey, Tony, we want to
And
predict.
it's not Tony, it's Antoine.
Antoine. That's right.
Antoine. Good to see you, Antoine.
I'm going back
Hey,
to the college days,
Hey,
brother.
no,
You're looking good, brother.
Antoine,
It's called Luigi.
Antoine, I got to ask you a question on the Georgia quarterback situation. What do you think?
What's your prediction for the game?
I'm going to say Notre Dame by 10. They don't have Beck as their quarterback, so Georgia, sorry. Notre Dame is going to win, and then we're going to be down in Miami, where
So
I
how about
live
this
at,
backup,
so you guys come
this
down.
backup quarterback Stockton? What do you think? I mean, what's it like coming in after not being the starter for all this time, and then coming in and probably the most important the game of the year and getting the start?
Well, it's his time to shine. You know, you have no better audience than him playing against Notre Dame, and hopefully, you know, our defense can stop him. But again, you know, I'm Notre Dame all the way. I don't care about any other colleges. This Notre Dame is it's the way we live.
And Tony was a starter from day one, so he never had to come off as a backup. So he doesn't really know what that kid's going through.
I remember when he came in. I remember when Terry broke his collarbone at Pittsburgh, and then you and Holtz put you in the game. That was in '87, wasn't it?
Oh, hell yeah. It was in 87. And I lined right behind the guard instead of the center. So that was an embarrassing moment of my life.
The first play,
I was
Tony
nervous.
lined up, put his hands under the guard.
Yeah, and Anthony Justice tells me, it says, Tony, could you please move over? Anthony was so polite. Could you please move over? And I did. But I was nervous. But again, you come to play, and you learn during the years, when your number is called upon, you got to make sure you perform right. And you know, obviously he has the tools to do that, or he would be number one quarterback. So we'll see.
I think that's the big thing Notre Dame has this year versus prior years, and Wes was talking about this earlier, is the depth of Notre Dame. Notre Dame seems to be deeper at all positions, running backs, receivers, defense, whereas and they've had some injuries this year where they're just next man up.
Well, they've
Yeah.
had.
Yeah, you know
Alan
what?
Bolden. Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
You know what? I look at it more like this as well too. You know, you come to Notre Dame and you compete against the best. And some of those players, they know exactly what they have to do. And these kids are bigger, faster, stronger, but do they have it up here in order what it takes to be a Notre Dame person, to work together as a team? And they're doing what they have to do. We had one hiccup, and that was just Northern Illinois. But hopefully that doesn't happen again when they play on the first. Make things happen. And what can you do? Trust, love, and commitment,
Punch
which
them in
we
the
all
face.
agree upon we did. So, what's the
What's the one thing Notre Dame's got to do to win? What's the game plan? What are the keys to victory for Notre Dame to win this game, Tony?
as you already know, and Coach Host preached this back in the day we played, no turnovers. If a defense don't let them score, offense don't turn the ball over, we win. So that's what we have to do.
Tell them about back in '88 when offense would turn the ball over and that defense would come on the field. How did you feel knowing that defense was coming on the field to help out the team?
Well, first of all, I let you guys down by allowing you guys to come on field, and we didn't do our jobs right. So I was like, you know what? We got to pick up where we left off at to make sure our defense stays off the field, that we just ride the ball down and drive off the time off the clock so we'll win. So our defense doesn't have to be on the field. So that was my fault. And I take the responsibility of it because any quarterback will be able to do that.
You didn't do it very often, but you knew that we had your back if you did.
That was a given. That was a given.
Hey, look, and let me tell you another thing. You guys also, I go back and watch the games with my children sometimes. I mean, to be fair, the offense held the ball a long time in those drives. We ran the ball, so you kept us fresh. You kept us off the field, and when we had our time to go out there, we obviously we played hard, right? But everybody. Yes, we had great players, and here's 4 of them right here. But every single one of us, if you sat down and asked, we would say we were more physical. We were tougher mentally than our opponents. So I think for Notre Dame, this is going to be the most mentally tough team in the NCAA, in my opinion. They've been in more big games. Their coach is mentally tough. They're going to be ready mentally. So we're going to have to be able to match their mental acumen, and we're going to be able to have to match their physicality, which I think we can do. We just got to do it.
Yeah. Hey, Wes, like you said earlier, basically we were little snot-nosed kids at the time. And we followed orders. We had a great leader. But we all picked each other up in order to make sure that we accomplished what we wanted to do out there. And then we had fun doing it.
I came in as a grown man. I was ready.
Older 3 years behind me.
Yeah, Stoney. Nobody really to this day still knows how old Stoney is. I mean, yeah.
But he never ages. Look at him. He never ages at all.
The way I see Indiana's defense, how can Indiana beat Notre Dame? And what I see with Indiana is, they got to pressure the quarterback. They're number 1 in the nation against the rush, averaging 70 yards a game. Their run defense is outstanding. Their pass defense is 9th in the nation. Total yards, they're second. Giving up yards, they're second in the nation. This is a legit defense. Now, I understand their strength of schedule isn't that of Georgia or Alabama, but still, Notre Dame's measured with these same rankings. They have gotten to the quarterback. They have sacked the quarterback. And they're only allowing 15 points a game. I
mean, if I'm Indiana, I'm going to put 8 guys in the box. I'm going to stop the run. I'm going to have the linebacker keying on the quarterback run and make Notre Dame throw the ball 20 yards down the field in those 20-yard buckets, because they have not been crazy successful in that part of their game. Now the question is, are Notre Dame's 2 running backs in their offensive line physical enough to win the battle with them with 8 in the box? I don't know the answers to that, but I mean, if I'm scheming against Notre Dame, that's what I'm doing.
And I think that
Mike?
Indiana matches up really well against Notre Dame with that strong run defense, and with their strong running offense, and so they're going to go out there and I think they're pretty well matched.
Yeah,
Well,
I mean, I think it goes back to what we've talked about all year. Why do we think Notre Dame had a decent chance in games like this? They've got a good defense, and they had an offense that controlled the line of scrimmage and didn't turn the ball over. So they're going to have to limit Indiana's scoring, and they're going to have to find a way to control the ball at the line of scrimmage and keep the ball and score, and not turn the ball over. They got to win special teams. They got to win the turnover battle. Blah blah blah.
Notre Dame's put up 40 points a game.
We don't want to get in a scoring duel with Indiana.
Indiana's averaging 43 points, Frank. I think
I
Notre
saw
Dame's
that.
averaging 40 points. So
Are
they're
we
not
really?
fall off.
Oh wow. They're not fall off.
They're not far off.
The concussion folks out there in Irish land, concussions are real. It is a thing as old football players age.
Do you know what the difference in concussions now and concussions when we played are?
What?
They didn't diagnose ours.
Right. Yeah, that's for sure. So without it, but you'll never convince me that Indiana is the same type of athlete that Notre Dame does. Notre Dame. Now you mentioned Signetti, the head coach of Indiana. His first year, he's brought with him. It's an ungodly number of transfers that are starting offense, defense, and special teams. It's close to 20, if not above. How many kids that first year guys are starting, and he's making this work, which is just crazy, insane to me. How you do that and have success. But having said that, Notre Dame, I think, has the better athlete. Now, my opinion, that Indiana defense, they're going to show up. They're going to show up in the right spot. And this is the big question: are they going to be able to make that tackle? Is that Notre Dame athlete going to be able to? Jeremiah Love, is he going to be able to break tackles? Is he going to be able to make that first guy miss? Because in Indiana defense, you don't get number one in the nation not being sound. They're going to show up. Are they going to be able to make the tackle? If they load it 8 in the box, they're going to have to play man in the secondary. Are they going to be able to man up those Irish wide receivers? Are they going to be able to cover them down the field? Is Riley Leonard, is he going to be able to pass the ball with accuracy versus man? And a lot of ifs here. If they start pressuring the quarterback, they have a guy spying Riley Leonard, I'm sure, because he's if not he's the leading rusher, he's close to it with 750 yards rushing on the game or rushing on the season.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, everything you said was sort of. Notre Dame's. The question is exactly what you were saying. I think our 2 running backs at Notre Dame are special athletes, and it'll be interesting to see if over the course of time, the course of the game, if they can keep those guys under wraps and if they don't break a tackle. I mean, some of those runs that Jeremiah Love has had recently against good. I mean, that run against Southern Cal when he jumped the guy, that was unbelievable. I mean, the guy is a special athlete.
That was unbelievable.
You got to get him in space.
And
we'll see. It's going to be interesting to watch.
They match up really well, and so this is what they fought for all season, to get into this playoff tournament. We got 12 teams in, so you got all the eyes. So I think, like we said last week, it's doing what it's supposed to do, keeping people interested in college football. So you go out and, every team starts the season, what's your number one goal? To win the national championship. And so, you got to the playoffs. Let's take it one team at a time and go out there and you stick it to them and you prove that
right.
You belong there.
Well, I'd like to think, in my opinion, Notre Dame's bread and butter is their run game. And I'd like to think when, that linebacker or that defensive, shows up to make the tackle, the defensive back shows up to make the tackle, that Jeremiah Love and Riley Leonard, can make a miss or, come up with the explosives. But I don't know if that's going to happen. I'd like to think it's going to happen, but it's not. I don't know. If Indiana doesn't pressure the quarterback, then I think Notre Dame can have some success throwing the ball. Like you said, Wes, you don't want to, or maybe it was Michael, you don't want to let Indiana think that they can win that game and have it a close game in the second half. You want that big offensive line to just pound them and pound them and pound them. That's a defense perspective. Offensively, Indiana, points per game, second in the nation is with 43. I mentioned the third down efficiency, 48%. They're executing. So, but what I'm thinking is as far as total yards, their total yards, total offense isn't all that great. So I'm thinking, why is it? Maybe they're getting short fields. And that leads me to believe that their special teams. I know this doesn't get a lot of attention but, special teams is that third part of the equation that you got to win. And you guys know how much we practice special teams under Lou Holtz.
Yeah, I think you listen to. I was listening to Dabo before the Clemson game, and he was talking about they have to win the special team. They have to win the different parts of the game: offense, defense, special teams, intensity. It sounded a lot like Lou. I don't think the game has changed. When you're playing a reasonably equal opponent, then I think all those little things matter. Special teams plays a huge part. Field position, turnovers. They all contribute and are significant. So,
well, and that was their downfall when they played Ohio State. They had a snap that went through the punter's hand that set up the offense, Ohio State offense, on a very, very short field, I think from the 15-yard line, and they go in for a score. They had a punt returner that makes a mistake. It might have been a fumble. And then that sets up another score. And, listening to Cignetti, and by the way, get a chance, listen to his press conference regarding the upcoming playoffs. He sounds like Luca Brasi from The Godfather, and he starts repeating himself a little bit, and he's, out in space. And I'm thinking, where have I heard that before? And it was when Luca Brasi went in and saw The Godfather, and he kept talking, repeating himself. I thought, this guy's a little bit out there, but I like Mike said, I like his confidence. I like his attitude, and I think he's going to bring it. Now, looking at their quarterback, Curtis Rourke, big kid, 6'3", 223, doesn't run the ball hardly ever, and that's why it's a premium that Notre Dame has to pressure him and sack him. His yards. Rushing yardage is maybe for the season, I don't know, 50, 60 yards, if that. So he's a pocket passer, and that's where he wants to be comfortable.
Well, I think with a pocket passer, if he's not a dual threat guy, and I don't really know that much about him, I think Notre Dame's got enough dudes on defense that they can put some confusing looks out there and have sort of a zone man sort of combo and blitz an extra guy. I think Al Golden will have a package for these guys that'll be very complex, and I see Notre Dame trying to do exactly what you said. I think they'll get pressure on it. I think the Irish, at the end of the day, they got too many athletes, and it's at home and it's at night. They should win the game.
Plus, they both had a week off, so hopefully both teams are healthy. Hopefully everybody's healed up and everybody's 100%, and they go out there and they give it their all.
They've got a running back, Justice Ellison, He's not very big, 5'10", less than 210 pounds. But watching some of his highlights, this cat is quick. I am worried for the Irish big time, big time. The more and more I look at this game, man, the more and more I'm scared. Cignetti's a good coach, playoff experience. They've got a great run defense. This Curtis Rourke, one of the top quarterback ratings in the country. They're talking about him going to the Browns in the first round. I don't know, man. I'm looking at the guys handling the ball for them. The running back and then Surratt, the receiver. These guys can play, and they're putting up.
I think everybody just kind of wrote them off because they didn't play a really overly tough schedule in the Big Ten. They did lose to Ohio State, but if you go back and look at that Ohio State game, it was a lot closer than the score. They had a couple of weird special team situations, like a fumbled punt,
right?
And I think there was another turnover. They had four. So Ohio State scored 14 points on
right
on like real quick
turnovers.
Weird turnovers, right,
big mistakes, right?
But if you look, I went back and looked at their schedule.
They beat Michigan. They beat Michigan. 2015.
They did beat Michigan soundly.
Michigan was playing well at the end of the year. They beat Ohio State.
You're right. No. Listen, I think their defense. I'm surprised how good their defense is statistically. I don't know how they got the dudes in there. I know he brought in a lot of transfers, but the fact that this is this guy's first year, he brought in, I forget what the number is of transfers that he brought in.
It's something ridiculous.
Yeah, it was like
he's got like 19 transfers.
No, I think it was even higher than that. I think it was even higher than that. But anyway, the point is that he brought the guys in,
for him.
and then he gels all these guys together, and they buy into his program and have the success that they have. It's truly impressive.
It's ridiculous what he's done in his first year. They had 3 wins. They had 3 wins last year. This year they're in the play. They're 11-1 and in the playoff.
Yeah.
This guy knows.
Like you said, I think they're the number 1 defense against the rush, and they're the top, like the number 2 scoring offense. I think Notre Dame. If you lined up all 22 people, Notre Dame's probably players are better, but that doesn't necessarily mean you win the game. I think Notre Dame. It's going to come down to 2 pretty good football teams, and I think it goes back to the 3 things that are the most important. You got to win the turnover battle, you got to win special teams, and then you got to execute. So, look, Notre Dame comes out and gets behind. I worry as long as we can stay in the game. I think physically we'll be fine. I just, they have a very explosive. I think they're a little more explosive than we are offensively. If we got behind, that would be bad. That's the only scenario I think would
be. Right. Because
With,
if you get behind, then you're going to have to. I mean, I'm not saying, it all depends. You don't have to throw the ball. I mean, how far are you behind? I mean, what's the situation? Are we in the fourth quarter? Or are you behind? But if Notre Dame comes out, and here's the other thing, if Notre Dame lets Indiana think that they can win that game, it's going to make it twice as hard for Notre Dame in the second half.
Yeah, I think 100%.
Indiana.
Look, here's the deal. I think everybody wants to just kind of blow them off because it's Indiana and they haven't had a great football team in a long time. But you have to forget all this. It's not the Indiana team that you've ever seen before. It was kind of like Vanderbilt
not
this
our
year.
Parents, Indiana.
Forget about the past because everything's changed. They brought in 36 kids. They have a new coach. They have. You think about this transfer portal stuff, man. You can bring 5, 10 top players in every year. It changes your entire team, So I agree with you. I don't think it's going to be. I think all these. I bet you all these games will be closer than people think they will be.
I agree with that. Right.
I think these kids. I think the talent levels across the board are much. There's a lot more parity because of the transfer portals and this NIL stuff. And I think the teams that have made it to the final 12 they're going to show up and play, and I look forward to it. I mean, I think it's, there's a lot of things I don't like about college football, i.e. the portal and all the kids leaving. They're going to have to do something about that. It's crazy. But I do love.
They're not doing anything about that. I see Franklin over at Penn State. He was bitching and moaning, I think it's yesterday or today, because his backup quarterback jumped in the portal. And they're getting ready for the playoffs.
But, Frank, here's the thing. It's the wild. There are no rules of who can communicate to your players. That has to be changed. They are allowing kids to enter the transfer portal before the bowl games and all that. To me, that is absolutely insane. And then I don't understand. If you think about, I was trying to understand, comparing it to the pros. The pros have a salary cap. The pros actually have rules on when you can talk to guys, right? The NFL, right. I mean. And then explain this to me. Why would the schools not lock the kids up with multi-year contracts so they don't have incentive to leave? In other words, look, I'll give you, I'm just throwing a number out there. We'll give you $100,000 for the first 2 years. If you stay 3 years, you get $1 million. You know what I mean? Like some kind of, or because in the NFL, nobody leaves every year, right?
Right.
They got more kids flipping around in 1 year than the NFL's ever had. Because the NFL is locking them up with contracts. But these kids have no contracts. It's the wild, wild west. There's no rules about who can communicate with them, when they can communicate with them. When they enter the portal, and it's just, you can do whatever you want. So the portal opened, whatever it was, 2 weeks ago. So that gives the right to every school in the country to contact. So, as an example, Ole Miss could be calling Julian Love right now and saying, we'll give you $2 million if you enter the transfer portal after. I'm being serious. And there's nothing to stop them from communicating with him.
Right. No, listen, man, you're right. It's the wild, wild west. Anyways, let's get back to Indiana. Let's get back to Indiana coming to town. They got a quarterback that, was one of the top quarterbacks in the nation. They got a running back that's prolific as well. The guy's got a tremendous burst. He's not that big, but man, he can take it to distance. And they've got a receiver in Surratt that he can run the vertical. He can get deep. And, we're talking about the keys for Notre Dame to win this game is, you got to possess the ball. You got to keep it away from their offense. You got to play the field position game. You got to grind it out. I'm not wild about putting the ball in Riley Leonard's hands. And when I say that, putting the ball in Riley Leonard's arm, as far as it's not going to be, to me, for them to win. They're not going to do it with Leonard's arm. They'll do it with his feet.
We talked about this. If you're Indiana, you're going to put 8 guys in the box and make them throw the ball. That's just the bottom. You're not going to let him. I would not let him beat me with his legs. I would put 8 guys in the box. I don't know. Their defense is clearly pretty good against the run.
I don't think they can do that. I don't think they're skilled enough. I think they're skilled. I just don't think they'd be able to cover. And this is the thing. I don't think they're going to be able to cover long enough to play man. I think that offensive line, hey, and this is another thing that's alarming. IU sacks the quarterback. They can get to the quarterback. And if they pressure him and force some turnovers, there's a lot of ifs. We're talking about a lot of ifs here. But the bottom line is Notre Dame has to be sound. They have to be sound up front. They got to stop the penetration. They got to give Riley, if they do get in a passing situation, 3rd and long, the key is to play, in front of the, play ahead of the chains, get into 3rd and shorts, have a big number on 3rd down conversions, be at least 40, 50% on 3rd down. Keep that offense on the field, grind it out, shorten the game, win the game at the line of scrimmage. And if Notre Dame, to me, Indiana is going to be sound, they're going to have a hat in the hole. They're going to have I don't see them busting a lot of coverages. Now, is Notre Dame going to make the catch? Is Riley Leonard going to make the throw? Is Jeremiah Love going to make that guy miss in the hole? And this is where I think Notre Dame has the advantage. Notre Dame has the advantage because I think their athletes are better. They're bigger, faster, stronger. But then they've got to prove that. They've got to show that. If IU wins this game, it's going to be because they overachieve, in my opinion, or Notre Dame gets outcoached.
Or Notre Dame loses the turnover battle.
Right. If Notre Dame makes the mistakes. But IU, here's what, if I'm an IU fan, scares me about IU is that stage. The stage was too big for him at Ohio State, and you mentioned the turnovers, putting the defense on the field with a short field, and Ohio State capitalizes on that.
Well, I agree with you, but let's talk about the positives about Notre Dame. I don't think the stage is going to be too big for Notre Dame.
Absolutely,
it's at home. It's going to be wild. It's going to be hostile environment benefiting Notre Dame. It's going to be cold. It's going to be at night. Notre Dame's got some intangibles. I cannot imagine that the kids are not going to be ready to play. And I think, would you like to face our two running backs? I mean, our running backs are pretty damn good.
Very good.
I think our offensive line has gotten better all year. We had some young kids that have gotten better, and we're a matchup problem too. So
Notre Dame.
The defense is. We've talked about the defense all year. I mean, we definitely have a sound defense. So, and we can't.
Notre Dame has to win on first down. They have to win on first down. They just have to. As far as you mentioned, the positives for Notre Dame, I think they can control the line of scrimmage. They're a better team. And enough of this talk about NIU. That's ancient history, Northern Illinois. I mean, everybody keeps going back. I hear the sports writers talk about, Marcus Freeman's just got to, squash that. That's so far, it's ancient history. You shouldn't even be talking about that. This is a completely different team today, a much better team than they were in week, whatever it was, 2 or 3.